question that always gets asked about the mediator and the voice of the child, and I'd like Sean to share that and answer that for us of the advantages with having a mediator and a voice of the child person in the room.
From a mediation point of view, I think just to start with, the first thing that we do as mediation works, our most important step is the voice of the child. We do a pre-mediation or introduction to pre-mediation, and before we do anything, we start with the voice of the child. And only then after that, we will start with the mediation. And the reason for that is, and I'm repeating what everybody said, is that we've got that moment where you have a snapshot into the world of the child. And we can look at their experience, how they experience the world, because they're going through trauma at that stage. So it is a good, and I think it's the best tool to look into a child's world. And the reason we're doing that is, and Minka touched on it, is it's traumatic for a child. You get isolation, disassociation, guilt, everything that a child can experience at a young age. They get to experience because their parents decided they want to get divorced. And in this, and why it's important for mediators to actually get this report is that in this report, you can see the relationship between the parents and the child, and you can see the attitude that the professional, the voice of the child professionals pick up on. You can see the practical difficulties, like Jolene said earlier, where they want certain things, but practically it's impossible to pick up the child from this place to that place. And the aspects you get in the reports of the voice of the child is that you have a sense of how the child sees himself. You have insight on how the child sees his relationship with his siblings, with his parents, with his extended family. That's important because sometimes we need to draft a parenting plan or PRR where we need to include its extended family or caregiver. And you'll see in this interview that the voice of the child, what sports the child excels in, what sports he hates, where he wants to be, where he feels safe. And those are all things that I don't think comes just from sitting and drafting a parenting plan, because every single one is different. And the moment you can have that insight from a child, his voice saying, these are the changes I've seen in my life. These are the changes I want with the divorce. Are you coping? No, I'm not coping. Why are you not coping? And all those tools you can use in drafting I don't want to say perfect parenting plan, but close to perfect as you can get. And the voice of the child is an extremely important role because they support and they champion the needs of the child, and their fears also, they let us know. And parents' needs are not always the same as the children's, and we need to make that distinction. And what Chris said earlier, the voice is not your choice. It does not mean that a child can a child can demand a certain outcome to make his household perfect. That obligation or responsibility cannot fall onto a child's shoulders. That responsibility falls onto the adults. This is the time where we can step up as the mediation team, the voice of the child professional, and become uber adults and uber parents, the best we can be, what the Act wants us to be. This is the time to put on your adult pants and do the best decision. And with all this information that the voice of the child gets you and provides you with, there are going to be moments in your mediation where you think you've reached a point you can't surmount. It's unsolvable. That's where the voice of the child, with all this information, Minka in her phase 2 and 3, Jolene, and Chris everybody touched on, that's where you become creative, because you've got a lot of information. And through your creativity, because of the voice of the child, you will overcome any difficult situation that would not have been able to do if you didn't have insight to the world's child, or a world of a child. And that's why I think it gives us the tools to solve any problem and be creative, because we've got more information than we would ever have had in the past.